it's almost at this stage, I would say, an existential question, isn't it? I mean, who are we? Um, and I think, as an artist, I certainly explored that question often over the past 50 years in my career in the theater. We explored it many times about um, let me just sort of say in 2023, I'm a very proud Canadian. I live right now in BC, and most of my career I've traveled between BC and Newfoundland. So I think it's a wonderful country. I spent April in April, drove across Canada from Newfoundland to Victoria, BC, and took a month to do it. So I was stopping in at every city, every capital city across the country, and visiting smaller towns, and just getting a feel for this great, expansive, wide, wonderful country that we live in, and diverse in many ways. So we're very fortunate as Newfoundlanders to be attached to Canada. Now, that being said, I don't think I felt that all my life. There are times that I've been very angry at Canada and very angry at our union between Newfoundland and Canada. In particular, always surfacing is Churchill Falls and that contract, and that I have always felt and continue to feel that the Canadian government gave us a bad deal, or allowed a bad deal to go on because of politics. So there are times that I don't feel comfortable in the union, or that I feel that we did not get a good deal in some ways. But in other ways, in the general big picture, we're very fortunate. I really believe World War I had a huge effect on our society. I feel we lost probably the brightest and the smartest, the people who would have been leaders in our country coming into through the 30s and the 40s. I wonder, and often wonder, what would have happened if that leadership had been around, if we didn't lose them in the battlefields of France. I think we would be a different country today. I think we'd be a different place today. We were in Grand Falls, of course, which was a town. We were British run. We were a little British community, set up by Harmsworth and those guys back when they built the mill in the early 1900s. Our family, in my particular family, escaped the poverty of Outport, Newfoundland, when the fishery was very difficult at the turn of the century, the early 1900s. The fishery was very rough. People were the poverty was just terrible, and they made that run into Grand Falls on the railway to work on the mill. That's how I ended up in Grand Falls. So there was in Grand Falls, I felt there was a very big heart for Britain, that maybe we should have stayed a British colony. So it was an interesting debate but everybody had money in Grand Falls. Everybody had cash in Grand Falls. Everybody was living the high life in Grand Falls in the 1940s. That mill was feeding everybody. So everybody was kind of happy, and you could romanticize. You could romanticize about we should have stayed with Britain because we had the money. We didn't need money. So around my kitchen table, there were a lot of questions. It was the nature of me as a child. My father was fairly political. So to ask questions and to wonder what it would have been like if we had have not joined Canada. And my feeling at that time, as I was coming of age, was independence. We should be independent. We should be our own selves. And my father was saying, "You don't get it, son. You just don't get it." So my father was definitely, his heart was independence, but logically, and my father was always logical to me, was we had no choice but to join Canada. We are independent, and we enjoy our independence as artists. I think that's important to us. That's important to who we are, that we have independence creating whatever we want to create. So there's always been that element, I think, in the Newfoundland arts to say we are independent, we are different, and to represent Newfoundland as an island in the North Atlantic, and we are different. And so our stories come from a unique place. We work hard. We go back to the days of Figgy Duff, when Figgy Duff were doing their traditional music and their Newfoundland traditional music and bringing that into today's world. I so love that because we managed to hang on to our culture because of the activity the artists were doing. Greg Malone and his books, I so respect him as an artist. And when I read his book, Nobody Told the Newfoundlanders, I see that declaration of independence and that strength that he has as an artist and a human being and who he is and what he is. And it shines through in that story he tells about Newfoundland. So I think culturally, we always felt we were fighting something as an artist, and we wanted our story to be told. I even go back to the way when I learned in high school about World War I, and it was all about the heroes of we were heroes because we obliterated our entire battalion. And it was the way that the propaganda of the day worked, was to tell us we were great, we were wonderful, because we killed ourselves doing something for somebody else. And of course, today's world, we know that's wrong, and that is very wrong. And nationalism and that flag is not a reason to kill yourself. So I think artists have that sense of independence and that move away and that push away. And so I think we'll always fight to retain our culture. And I think that is a wonderful thing for Newfoundland and a wonderful thing for our artists to be doing, to hang on to who we are.